The average American at 65 sits down for about 9 hours every day. 9 hours. That's more time than they spend sleeping. Meanwhile, in certain regions of Japan, people the same age move through their day in patterns so different that researchers tracking their habits initially thought the data was wrong. These weren't elite athletes or genetic outliers. They were retired teachers, shopkeepers, grandmothers who'd worked in rice fields. Yet their cardiovascular markers, joint mobility scores, and cognitive function tests looked like they belonged to people 15 years younger. The gap wasn't genetics. It wasn't expensive supplements. It was movement woven so seamlessly into daily life that it didn't feel like exercise at all. Here's what most health advice for people over 60 gets catastrophically wrong. It treats movement as something you do for 30 minutes at a gym, and then you're done. The Japanese approach flips that completely. Movement isn't a task you check off. It's the texture of your day. And when researchers from major universities compared fall rates, independence levels, and hospitalizations between American seniors and their Japanese counterparts doing these simple practices, the differences were so stark they spent the last decade trying to figure out how to bottle it. You can't bottle it, but you can learn it. And it takes no equipment, no gym membership, and starts with something you're probably doing wrong right now without realizing it. I'm going to walk you through 10 movements that Japanese seniors do naturally, often multiple times a day, that rewire everything from your balance to your bone density. We're counting down from 10 to 1. Number 2 is going to surprise you because it happens in a place Americans avoid entirely after 60. And number 1 is so simple you'll wonder why no one told you about it decades ago. But it's also the single most predictive movement for whether you'll still be independent at 85. Before we start, drop a comment with just your age and where you're watching from. I want to see how many of us are ready to move differently starting today. Number 10, deep squatting. Not the half squat you do to pick something up off the floor and then immediately stand. I'm talking about a full squat where your hips drop below your knees and you stay there. In Japan, this position is called Onkozuwari or sometimes Shigamikomu, depending on the region. It's how people rest while gardening, how they wait for a bus, how they sort vegetables or fold laundry. The average Japanese senior in rural areas spends cumulative minutes in this position daily. The average American senior can't get into it at all without falling backward. Here's why that matters. When you squat deeply, you're loading your ankle, knee, and hip joints through their full range of motion under your own body weight. That's a signal to your body that these joints still need to be maintained. Stop sending that signal, and your brain starts pruning. Cartilage thins. Ligaments stiffen. The range you don't use becomes the range you can't use. Some analyses suggest that the ability to perform a deep squat without holding on to something is one of the strongest predictors of mobility at 75 and beyond. It's not about strength. It's about range and control. Meet Doris, 72, former accountant in Ohio. She told me she hadn't been able to squat past 90 degrees in over a decade. Her knees felt stiff, her ankles were tight, and she assumed that was just arthritis and age. I had her start with a simple protocol. Every morning, hold on to a countertop edge, feet shoulder width, and lower down as far as comfortable. Stay there for 10 seconds. That's it. No forcing. Over 2 months, she added 5 seconds a week and stopped holding the counter. Last time we spoke, she was squatting fully to sort her grandkids' toys on the floor and getting up without using her hands. She said it felt like she'd unlocked a part of her body she thought was gone. Here's your protocol. Find a sturdy surface you can hold. A countertop, a railing, a heavy chair. Stand with feet slightly wider than your hips, toes angled out just a bit. Hold on and lower yourself as far as your body allows without pain. Don't bounce. Just breathe. 10 seconds to start. Do this once every morning. If your heels lift, put a folded towel under them. That's not cheating. That's working with your current ankle range. Every week, try to go 5 seconds longer or let go of the support for a moment. The goal isn't speed. It's sending that signal every single day that you still need this range. But here's the kicker. Squatting is just the foundation. Because if you can't get down to the floor with control, the next movement is going to expose an even bigger gap. And that gap is one of the top reasons people end up in assisted living. Not because they're weak, but because they're terrified of falling and never practice the one thing that prevents it. Number 9. Floor sitting and floor transitions. In traditional Japanese homes, much of daily life happens on or near the floor. Meals at a low table, folding clothes, watching television on a cushion. This means getting down to the floor and back up again isn't a dramatic event. It's just life. For most Americans, the floor becomes lava after 60. We avoid it. We use chairs, couches, beds. And every year we avoid it. Getting down and getting back up becomes harder. Eventually, it becomes impossible without help. That's when independence starts to slip. Research from institutions tracking aging populations has found that the ability to sit on the floor and stand back up without using your hands correlates strongly with longevity and reduced all-cause mortality. It's a test called the sitting-rising test. You start standing, sit down on the floor cross-legged, then stand back up. You lose points every time you use a hand, knee, or forearm for support. A perfect score is 10. 5 points down, 5 points up, no hands. People who score 8 or higher have significantly better long-term health outcomes than those who score 3 or below. It's not that the test causes health. It's that the test reveals whether your body still has the strength, balance, flexibility, and coordination that keeps you resilient. James, 68, retired electrician in Florida. He told me he'd been sleeping in a recliner for 2 years because getting in and out of bed felt risky. He couldn't remember the last time he sat on the floor. We started with the simplest possible version. Sit on the edge of your bed. Scoot forward until you can put one foot flat on the floor, then the other. Use your hands on the bed and lower one knee to the floor, then the other. Now you're kneeling. From kneeling, sit back onto your heels or shift to sit cross-legged on a folded blanket. That's it. That's day 1. Reverse the steps to get back up. He did this every evening for 3 weeks. Then he started doing it on a yoga mat in his living room. 6 weeks in, he stood up from cross-legged without using his hands. He said he felt like he'd won the lottery. Now he sits on the floor to play cards with his grandkids. Here's your protocol. If you haven't sat on the floor in years, start next to a couch or sturdy coffee table. Lower yourself down using your hands and the furniture. Sit on a thick cushion if you need to. Just sit there for 30 seconds. Breathe. Stand back up using whatever support you need. Do this once a day. Every few days, try to use a little less support. Maybe you go from 2 hands to 1 hand. Maybe you kneel on a cushion instead of sitting fully. This isn't boot camp. It's rehearsal. You're teaching your nervous system that the floor is safe and that you know how to navigate it. Because when you can move confidently between standing, sitting, and floor level, your world expands. You can garden. You can play with kids. You can pick something up without fear. And here's where it gets interesting. Most people think balance is something you either have or you don't. But balance is a skill. It degrades when you stop practicing it. And the Japanese do one specific thing every single day that Americans almost never do. And it's the reason their fall rates after 70 are dramatically lower. Number 8. Single leg standing balance. In Japan, it's common to see older adults standing on one leg while waiting for a train, while brushing their teeth, while talking on the phone. It looks casual. It's not. It's one of the most effective ways to maintain the neural pathways that prevent falls. Your ability to balance on one leg for more than 10 seconds is a powerful marker of functional ability as you age. Studies tracking seniors over time have found that those who can't balance on one leg for at least 10 seconds face higher risks of falls, fractures, and loss of independence. The good news is you can improve it at any age, but you have to practice it. Here's what's happening when you balance on one leg. Your brain is integrating input from your inner ear, your vision, and sensors in your feet, ankles, and hips. It's making thousands of tiny corrections per second to keep you upright. When you stop challenging that system, it gets lazy. The corrections slow down. Your reaction time to a stumble increases. That's when falls happen. But when you practice single leg balance daily, even for 30 seconds per side, you're keeping those pathways sharp. Linda, 71, former nurse in Pennsylvania. She'd had 2 falls in 6 months. Nothing major, but enough to shake her confidence. She started avoiding walks. I told her to start balancing on one leg every time she brushed her teeth, morning and night. Stand next to the sink so she could grab it if needed. Lift 1 foot an inch off the ground. That's it. 30 seconds if possible, but even 10 seconds counted. She couldn't do 10 seconds on her left leg at first. Her right was better. After 3 weeks, she hit 30 seconds on both sides without needing the sink. After 2 months, she could stand on one leg with her eyes closed for 15 seconds. She told me she felt steady again. She started walking her neighborhood. No falls since. Here's your protocol. Pick a daily anchor. Brushing teeth is perfect because you do it twice a day and you're already standing. Stand next to a counter or wall. Lift 1 foot just an inch off the ground. You don't need to lift your knee high. Just break contact with the floor. Hold for 10 seconds if you can. Switch legs. If you wobble, that's fine. Touch the counter and reset. Do this every single day. As you improve, try it with your eyes closed for a few seconds, but keep the counter close. The eyes closed version is harder because you're removing visual input, forcing your inner ear and proprioception to do all the work. That's advanced. But even the basic version, every day, will change your stability. And here's the thing. Balance isn't just about not falling. It's about confidence. When you trust your body to stay upright, you move more. You walk farther. You try things. That movement compounds. Which brings us to the next practice. And this one might be the most underrated movement on the entire list because it fixes a problem that almost every American over 60 has and doesn't even know it. Number 7, ankle circles and toe spreading. Most people never think about their feet until they hurt, but your feet are your foundation. If your ankles are stiff and your toes are jammed together from decades in narrow shoes, your balance, your gait, your knee health, and even your hip alignment suffer. In Japan, many older adults spend time barefoot or in minimal sandals. They also do simple foot mobility exercises, often without even naming them. Rolling the ankles, spreading the toes, flexing the arches. These aren't formal exercises. They're just part of how people move when they sit on the floor or walk on uneven surfaces. Here's why this matters. Your ankle joint is designed to move in multiple directions. Flexion, extension, and rotation. When you spend all your time in supportive shoes on flat surfaces, your ankle range shrinks. The tendons shorten. The joint capsule tightens. Then one day you step off a curb at a weird angle and your ankle can't adapt. That's when sprains happen. Same with your toes. If you can't spread your toes apart, you lose the ability to grip the ground. Your balance suffers. Your foot arch collapses. Plantar fasciitis, bunions, and knee pain can all trace back to feet that stop moving. Research from physical therapy centers has shown that seniors who do ankle mobility and toe flexibility exercises have better balance scores and fewer falls. The exercises take less than 2 minutes, but almost no one does them because no one talks about feet. It's not sexy. It doesn't burn calories, but it's foundational. Eleanor, 69, retired teacher in Michigan. She had chronic ankle stiffness and told me her feet always felt clunky. She'd roll her ankle on small bumps. I gave her the simplest protocol. Sit in a chair. Lift 1 foot off the ground. Make big, slow circles with your ankle. 10 circles one direction. 10 circles the other. Then sit and try to spread your toes apart without using your hands. Most people can't do it at first. That's fine. Just try. 10 attempts. Switch feet. Do this every night while watching TV. She did it for 4 weeks. She told me her ankles felt looser, her balance improved, and she could finally spread her toes about halfway. Small change, big impact. Here's your protocol. Sit comfortably. Lift 1 foot. Rotate your ankles slowly in the biggest circles you can make. 10 circles clockwise, 10 counterclockwise. Then place your foot flat and try to spread your toes wide, like you're making space between each toe. Hold for a few seconds. Relax. Repeat 10 times. Switch feet. Do this every evening. If you want to go deeper, Roll the bottom of your foot on a tennis ball or frozen water bottle for a minute per foot. That wakes up the small muscles and fascia. Your feet will thank you. And when your feet work better, everything above them works better. But even perfect feet won't help you if you're doing the next thing wrong. And this is where most seniors unknowingly destroy their posture and lung capacity without realizing it. It happens every single time you sit down. Number 6, proper sitting posture and active sitting. The way most Americans sit is a slow disaster. Slouch forward, rounded upper back, head jutting toward a screen, pelvis tilted backward. This position compresses your lungs, weakens your core, strains your neck, and trains your body into a shape that makes everything harder. Standing up becomes harder. Walking upright becomes harder. Breathing deeply becomes harder. In contrast, Japanese floor sitting and traditional low chair posture naturally encourage a more upright spine. When you sit on the floor or on a low cushion, you have to engage your core to stay upright. There's no backrest to collapse into. Your spine stacks. Your shoulders settle back. Your chest stays open. Here's what happens when you sit slouched for years. Your hip flexors shorten. Your glutes forget how to fire. Your thoracic spine, the mid-back, locks into a rounded position. Your diaphragm can't descend fully, so every breath is shallow. Over time, this becomes your default posture even when standing. You walk with a forward lean. You lose height. Your balance suffers because your center of mass is off. Research from posture and movement labs has shown that seniors with better upright posture have higher lung capacity, better balance, and less chronic pain. The fix isn't complicated, but it requires awareness and practice. Thomas, 73, retired engineer in Arizona. He developed a hunched posture over years at a desk. He had constant neck pain and said he felt like he was folding in on himself. I had him start with one change. Every time he sat down, before he relaxed into the chair, he'd sit at the front edge, feet flat, and imagine a string pulling the top of his head toward the ceiling. He'd take 3 deep breaths in that position. Just 3, then he could relax. That's it. He did this every time he sat. Within 3 weeks, he told me he noticed himself sitting taller automatically. The neck pain decreased. He felt like he could breathe more easily. He said it was like someone had reminded his body how to be upright. Here's your protocol. Every time you sit, pause before you lean back. Sit toward the front half of the chair. Place your feet flat on the floor, hip width apart. Imagine a string pulling the crown of your head up. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Take 3 slow, deep breaths, feeling your ribs expand in all directions. Then you can relax into the chair. But start with those 3 breaths. Do this every single time you sit for a week. It becomes automatic. If you want to go further, spend 5 minutes a day sitting on the floor on a cushion with no backrest. You'll feel your core working to hold you up. That's active sitting. That's what keeps your spine healthy. And here's the fascinating part. Posture isn't just about your back. It's about your breathing. And breathing is the next practice. This one is so deceptively simple that most people dismiss it. But it's one of the most researched interventions for stress, blood pressure, and even cognitive decline in older adults. And the Japanese have been doing it for centuries. Number 5, nasal breathing and breath pacing. Most Americans over 60 are chronic mouth breathers and don't even know it. Mouth breathing, especially during rest, dries out your mouth, disrupts your sleep, reduces oxygen efficiency, and keeps your nervous system in a low-grade stress state. Nasal breathing, on the other hand, filters air, warms it, humidifies it, and triggers a relaxation response through nitric oxide production in the nasal passages. In Japan, conscious breathing practices are embedded in everything from martial arts to tea ceremony to morning routines. The idea is simple. Breathe in through your nose. Breathe out through your nose. Slow down. Extend the exhale. Here's what the research shows. Slowing your breathing down to around 6 breaths per minute, with a longer exhale than inhale, activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That's your rest and digest mode. It lowers blood pressure, reduces cortisol, improves heart rate variability, and can even improve memory and focus. Some studies with older adults found that just 10 minutes of slow nasal breathing daily for 8 weeks led to measurable drops in blood pressure and improvements in mood. 10 minutes. No drugs. No equipment. Margaret, 70, retired librarian in Vermont. She'd been on blood pressure medication for 5 years. Her doctor said her numbers were borderline and stress wasn't helping. I taught her a simple pattern. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Breathe out through your nose for a count of 6. That's it. She set a timer for 5 minutes every morning and did this while sitting upright. After 6 weeks, her systolic pressure dropped by 8 points. Her doctor reduced her medication. She told me she felt calmer, slept better, and didn't realize how much tension she'd been holding. Here's your protocol. Sit comfortably with your spine upright. Close your mouth gently. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Breathe out through your nose for a count of 6. If that feels hard, start with 3 in, 5 out. Do this for 5 minutes every morning. Use a timer. Let your belly rise on the inhale, fall on the exhale. Your chest shouldn't heave. This is diaphragmatic breathing. Calm, controlled, efficient. If you want to deepen it, do another 5 minutes before bed. This practice alone can shift your entire nervous system over time. And when your nervous system is calmer, everything from digestion to pain to sleep improves. Now, the next movement is one that Americans do completely backward. We think of it as something gentle and optional. In Japan, it's considered essential, and the way they do it makes all the difference. It's something you probably do every day, but you're likely doing it in a way that misses most of the benefit. Number 4, walking with intention and varied terrain. Americans walk on flat sidewalks and treadmills, smooth, predictable surfaces. Same speed, same stride. It's better than sitting, but it's one-dimensional. In Japan, especially in rural and mountainous areas, people walk on uneven trails, up and down hills, on gravel, on cobblestones, on soft earth. This variation forces your body to adapt with every step. Your ankles adjust. Your hips stabilize. Your core engages. Your brain has to pay attention. That combination of physical and cognitive demand is what keeps your nervous system sharp. Research from aging and mobility labs has shown that walking on varied terrain improves proprioception, reduces fall risk, and maintains bone density better than flat surface walking. The unevenness is a point. It's a challenge, and challenge is what your body needs to stay adaptable. Flat, predictable walking is safe, but it doesn't force adaptation. Your body gets efficient at that one movement and stops building resilience. Robert, 74, retired contractor in Oregon. He walked his neighborhood every day. Flat streets, same loop. He told me he felt stable on pavement, but uneasy on anything else. I had him find a local park with a dirt trail. Nothing extreme, just uneven ground. He started walking it twice a week. Slowly at first. He said it felt harder, like his legs had to wake up. After a month, he told me he felt more confident. He started hiking easy trails with his wife. His balance improved. He said he felt younger. Here's your protocol. Find a place to walk that isn't perfectly flat. A park trail, a grassy field, a gravel path, a beach. Start slow. Let your body adjust to the changes in surface. Walk for 10 to 15 minutes. If that's not possible, walk on your lawn, walk on the edge of a curb, or create a small obstacle course in your backyard with stones or boards. The variation is what matters. Your brain and body crave novelty. Give them that. Walk with intention. Feel your feet. Notice the shifts. This isn't about speed or distance. It's about quality of movement. And here's the transition that changes everything. Most of the movements we've covered so far are about maintaining what you have. The next ones are about reversing loss. They're about rebuilding capacities you thought were gone. And number 3 is the gateway. It's a movement that most seniors avoid because it seems too hard or too risky. But when done right, it's one of the safest and most transformative things you can do. Number 3, gentle loaded carries and grip strengthening. In Japan, it's common to see older adults carrying baskets of vegetables, bags of rice, buckets of water, not because they're training, because that's life. Carrying things is functional strength, and grip strength, the force you can generate with your hands, is one of the most reliable predictors of overall health and longevity in aging populations. Some research has found that low grip strength is associated with higher risks of cardiovascular disease, disability, and mortality. It's not that your hands cause those outcomes. It's that grip strength reflects your overall muscle mass, neural function, and vitality. Here's the beautiful part. You can improve grip strength at any age. And improving grip strength often comes with improvements in overall strength, posture, and confidence. Loaded carries, where you simply walk while holding weight in your hands, do more than just build grip. They strengthen your core, improve your posture, challenge your balance, and train your body to stabilize under load. That's real-world strength. Susan, 67, retired postal worker in Colorado. She told me she struggled to open jars, carry groceries, and hold her grandkids' hands without her fingers aching. I had her start with the simplest loaded carry. Fill 2 equal weight bags with canned goods or books, about 5 to 8 pounds each. Hold one in each hand and walk around her house for 1 minute. That's it. Do it 3 times a week. She did this for 6 weeks, gradually adding a bit more weight. She said her hands felt stronger. She could open jars again. She started carrying her groceries in from the car in 1 trip instead of 3. Here's your protocol. Find 2 bags or containers you can hold comfortably. Fill them with equal weight. Start light. 5 pounds per hand is plenty. Stand tall. Hold one in each hand, arms at your sides. Walk slowly for 30 to 60 seconds. Put them down. Rest. Repeat 2 or 3 times. Do this 2 or 3 times a week. As it gets easier, add a little weight or walk a bit longer. If you want to add grip-specific work, squeeze a tennis ball or a grip trainer for 10 slow reps per hand daily. Strong hands mean independence. They mean you can open things, hold things, catch yourself if you stumble. Don't neglect them. Now we're getting into the top 2. And this is where things get surprising. Because number 2 happens in a place that most seniors are told to avoid. It's wet, it's slippery, it's considered dangerous. And yet, in Japan, it's where some of the most important movement happens for older adults. It's where heat, pressure, and mindful motion combine into something that researchers are calling one of the best low-impact recovery and mobility tools available. You probably have access to it. You're just not using it the way they do. Number 2, bathing movement and hydrotherapy stretching. In Japan, the bath isn't just for getting clean. It's a daily ritual. Ofuro, the traditional deep soaking tub, is where people sit in hot water up to their shoulders for 10 to 20 minutes. But it's not passive. Many older adults do gentle stretches while in the water. They rotate their ankles. They flex their knees. They roll their shoulders. The heat relaxes the muscles. The water provides buoyancy, reducing joint stress. The combination allows for movement that would be painful or impossible on land. Here's what the science says. Warm water immersion increases blood flow, reduces muscle tension, and can temporarily decrease pain signals. When you add gentle movement in the water, you're working through ranges of motion without the load of gravity. This is especially valuable for people with arthritis, joint pain, or limited flexibility. Some studies with older adults using warm water exercise found improvements in joint mobility, balance, and even mood after consistent practice. The water is forgiving. It supports you. And that support lets you move in ways you've forgotten. Helen, 75, retired seamstress in Washington. She had severe knee osteoarthritis and told me she avoided bending her knees because it hurt too much. I suggested she try gentle knee bends while sitting in a warm bath. She filled her tub, soaked for 10 minutes to let the heat work, then slowly bent and straightened her knees underwater. No force, just easy movement. She did this 3 times a week. After a month, she told me her knee stiffness had decreased. She could move more freely during the day. The warm water gave her a safe space to practice movement without fear. Here's your protocol. Next time you take a bath, make the water as warm as comfortable. Soak for 5 to 10 minutes to let your muscles relax. Then, while seated or reclining, do gentle movements. Rotate your ankles. Bend and straighten your knees slowly. Roll your shoulders. Open and close your hands. These aren't exercises. They're explorations. Move to the edge of your range, not into pain. 5 to 10 minutes of this movement in warm water, 2 or 3 times a week, can unlock mobility you thought was gone. If you don't have a tub, you can do similar movements in a warm shower, letting the water run over stiff areas while you gently move. Or find a warm therapy pool if one is available. The principle is the same. Heat plus buoyancy plus gentle movement equals restoration. And this brings us to number 1, the simplest practice on this list, the one that requires no equipment, no space, no flexibility. You can start right now, today, and it will change more about your mobility, your independence, and your longevity than anything else. It's the movement that predicts whether you'll be walking on your own at 80, whether you'll be able to travel, whether you'll need a walker or a wheelchair. And it's something that Japanese seniors do dozens of times a day without even thinking about it. It's so simple that when I tell you, you might think I'm joking, but the data is overwhelming. This is the one. Number 1, frequent floor-to-stand transitions throughout the day. Getting up and down from the floor or a low surface repeatedly throughout your day is the single most comprehensive movement you can do for longevity. It requires ankle mobility, knee strength, hip flexibility, core stability, upper body coordination, and balance. Every time you lower yourself down and stand back up, you're doing a full body integration test. And every time you practice it, you're telling your body that this capacity still matters. Here's the reality. The ability to get off the floor independently is one of the strongest predictors of how long you'll live and how well you'll live. The sitting rising test I mentioned earlier isn't just a test. It's a practice. And the people who do it regularly, even if they struggle at first, improve. Those improvements translate directly into real-world function. Fewer falls, more independence, less fear. In Japan, because of floor-based living, people do this naturally. They sit on the floor for meals, for tea, for conversation. They get up and down 10, 15, 20 times a day. It's invisible exercise. For Americans, we have to make it intentional. We have to build it into our day. But when you do, the effects are profound. George, 76, retired mechanic in Texas. He told me he couldn't get off the floor without help. He'd fallen once and had to wait for a neighbor. That fear haunted him. I gave him a plan. Every single day, practice getting down to the floor and back up using whatever support you need. A couch, a chair, your hands. Do it once in the morning, once in the evening. Use support. That's fine. The goal is repetition. He did this every day for 8 weeks. At first, he needed both hands and chair. By week 4, he was using one hand. By week 8, he stood up from a seated position on the floor without support. He cried when he told me. He said he felt like himself again. Here's your protocol. Once in the morning, once in the evening, practice this. Start standing. Lower yourself to the floor using whatever support you need. A chair, a couch, the wall. Sit on a cushion if that helps. Once you're down, sit for 10 seconds. Then reverse the process and stand back up. Use support. Use your hands. Use your knees. It doesn't matter how you do it at first. What matters is that you do it every single day. Over weeks and months. Try to reduce the support. Go from 2 hands to 1. Go from needing a chair to just using the floor. Progress slowly. There's no deadline. But practice daily. Because this one practice, more than anything else, will determine your independence a decade from now. Every time you get down and stand back up, you're proving to yourself and to your body that you can, that you're not fragile, that you're capable. That confidence compounds. You start moving more. You stop avoiding things. You feel younger because you're moving like someone younger. And that's the real secret. Age is just a number. Movement is a language your body speaks. And when you speak it every day, your body listens. So which of these 10 movements are you going to start with? And what's one small change you'll make today to move more like the Japanese seniors who are thriving into their 80s and 90s? Drop a comment and let me know.